Hey, welcome back to another video. A little bit of a different one today, seeing as DxO have just launched PhotoLab 8, and as you may know from my weekly edit series, I really enjoy using DxO's PhotoLab. In my weekly edit about 2 weeks ago, I think it was, I actually used PhotoLab 7 to edit one of the images, or one of my landscape images, and yeah, I spoke quite highly of the program. It has some drawbacks compared to something like Lightroom or on One, but they're all different. You would use PhotoLab specifically for their excellent optics modules. They have some unique tools and one or two unique modules, which we'll talk about today. Now, as you may or may not know, they've just launched PhotoLab 8, and after my weekly edit video, they were kind enough to reach out and let me play around with it. So I haven't had too much time, so I just want to show you the couple of new features, 3 main ones, and then some enhancements they've made, and then I'll give you some of my thoughts on whether it is worth upgrading or not. So let's jump into it, and I will give you a whirlwind tour. I'm going to play around with it some more. In the next few weeks, I'll probably have a bit more of a detailed video, perhaps edit a few more images, play around with it. But this is sort of just a quick the highlights. You'll probably see a lot of these videos in the next couple of days. So, but yeah, I'm new to this, so I'm still figuring it out. Okay, so here I have 4 images open in PhotoLab 8. It basically looks identical to PhotoLab 7. There's some performance enhancements, which is normal as programs improve. But let me not waste too much time on things that are underneath the hood. Let's look at things that they really want to highlight. So one of the things I spoke about in my weekly edit video, I'll actually link it down in the description, is the lens softness correction or compensation. So we look at this first image here of this yacht sailing underneath the clouds of a clearing squall captured back in South Africa as I'm editing this here in Switzerland. So one of the great things I like about PhotoLab is it actually does a lot to the image before I actually need to start editing. So I've just opened the image up in PhotoLab, and if I click on compare here quickly, you'll see that was the original raw file. And just by opening it up in PhotoLab, it's sort of done some initial edits, which almost I don't actually need to do much editing, unless the only reason I would edit this further is if I really want to spend a bit of time on this image because I want to present it in my portfolio or want to make a print, etc., etc. So it really saves me a lot of time, actually. Anyway, so on to lens softness correction, which you'll find under the details module here, over here. So let me zoom into the shot quickly. This image was captured with a very long focal length, and this wasn't the most high-end lens, so it is quite soft in any way. So I'm going to deactivate lens softness correction quickly. Keep an eye on the yacht here. So deactivate, and you can immediately see how soft this image was originally. And let me activate that quickly, and you can see all the detail that just sort of magically appears there. Overall and specifically in the yacht there. Yeah, so that's basically that. They've improved it a little bit, so it'll probably be a little bit better than in PhotoLab 7, but I've compared the two. There's not a massive difference. But this is a feature that was there, they've just enhanced. I like to, and especially when it's really soft like this with the lens, I like to bump this up to about 1.6, 1.7. And you can see really it has it's almost like it pulls it into focus. It's really cool. So that's lens softness correction. Let's move on. This is also one of the images from I think it's from my most recent weekly edit. This was captured in Corfu, on the island of Corfu in Greece. Again, I haven't done any editing to it, just do before, after. So you can see here there's not too much of a difference, but it's just enough to sort of, I don't actually need to do too much to the image, if anything. So one of the brand new features in listen to me, in PhotoLab 8 is Hue Masks. So if you're familiar with local adjustments, which is on top right here in PhotoLab, it's quite different to something like Lightroom and on One, in the sense that you don't have, there's a gradient filter, but there's no radial filter, and they've got a technology called Hue point technology, which works with control points. So if we just activate local adjustments quickly, so if you just pop a control point down here, maybe on the boat here, you'll see the mask overlay is green at the moment, but it picks up the chroma and the luminosity and the chroma, so the color as well as the brightness of it. But quickly, let me change this to black and white quickly, and then we can see. So you can see there, and as I pull that out, that affects a larger area, and I can pull that down so it just focuses on the boat, and then it sort of feathers out. And by changing the chroma and the luma, you can affect and restrict the mask. But if you want to, let me just quickly change that back. If you want to affect a specific area or specific color, that's very hard to do with control points, as well as a control line, which is just a linear version of the control point, and graduated filter, gradient filter, graduated filter as well. Let me quickly delete that. And then we had the auto mask brush, the mask brush, and then the eraser brush. Now, interestingly, the eraser brush does not work with control points, control point mask, as well as the control line. It works with the graduated filter, and now it also works with the brush. It also doesn't work with auto. It works with auto brush actually. Yeah, so this doesn't work with the control point features of DxO. But now we have the new Hue mask. So you can actually select a specific color. So I've clicked on it. I'm going to select the red underneath the boat here because I want to enhance that a little bit. Now, straight off the bat, it selects the whole, the color range throughout the whole image. But now we have the option to feather out that selection here on this color bar, and we can also expand the color range that is selected. So you can see underneath the boat there, sort of just selected a little bit more and made it a bit more of a gradual drop, a selection that drops off gradually, feathers out, so it's not so it's an end and such a hard edge. And then we can add adjustments as we want. What's nice about this is, so I only want to affect the red under the boat. I don't want to affect the red on the boat there, and then the cruise liner there, and also I can see it's picking up a bit here as well. I'm going to change that to black and white quickly, so you can see now everywhere that's picking up a bit of this color range. Now I can select the eraser tool, and I can adjust the size here down the bottom. And oh, thank goodness, that's for a moment. Got a heart attack. I thought that I wasn't recording on the anyway. I don't know. And what was I saying? Yes, so now I can actually erase the parts that I don't want to be affected, and it's a very smooth. It's quite a very responsive, very smooth effect actually. In some programs, the mask, when you modify a mask, it can actually slow down the program quite a bit. In this case, it works very smoothly, so that's quite a nice performance enhancement on DxO's part. Now I can adjust just that part underneath the boat. So let me go back to the mask quickly, and I wanted to bring up the shadows a little bit and add a little bit of vibrance. Yeah, and I think that looks pretty good. So let me just quickly without, with. Great. So that's new Hue masks in DxO PhotoLab. Then moving swiftly along, what do we have? Noise reduction has been enhanced even further. So I've mentioned this a few times, definitely in my weekly edit before. Noise reduction in PhotoLab is actually incorporates Pure 4, which you might be familiar with or not. That's a program that DxO has basically packaged and sells separately just for its absolutely amazing noise reduction capabilities, but it's bundled into PhotoLab, and you have a bit more fine-tuned control over it, or at least you used to have versus Pure. I think Pure was caught up a bit. Anyway, so this image, which is from my weekly edit a couple of weeks ago, it was shot through some clearing cloud, and it was also a very small sensor camera, compact camera actually, so it is quite noisy. So let me just quickly do some default adjustments to it to exaggerate the noise even further. So it's quite hazy at the moment, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take up the smart lighting a little bit from DxO. I'm going to take up the clear view quite a bit to get rid of that haziness. Now you can immediately I don't even have to zoom into 100%, and you can see the noise here in the shadows there and in the sky. Which is not a negative thing per se, but let's work with that. And then I'm going to increase the contrast quite a bit as well. And it's quite blue, so let me just quickly warm up a bit. Yeah, more sort of neutral territory. Back there I want blacks to come down. Nice contrasty. Shadows as well. Yeah, okay. I think for demonstration purposes that looks good. So then we go to details here, and now what you'll see or notice if you're familiar with PhotoLab 7 is you don't have a little window here anymore. Actually, let me open up PhotoLab 7 quickly. I had it open earlier, so let's show you if it'll start up. Is it going to start up? There you go. Okay, so yeah, so I had the same, I was sort of just going through a bit of the differences, but I'm not going to extensively compare them just to not waste your time. So let's do the same image here. I'm not going to do the adjustments, or I'll just do the clear view quickly. There we go. Okay. So go to details, and now you can see under denoising technologies in PhotoLab 7, you have this little preview here. And you can set it to where you want it to be. So let's set it here. There's some highlights, shadows, and some details. And then when you say, so you have noise reduction options, prime, DeepPRIME, and then in PhotoLab 7 it was DeepPRIME XD. See, it's working there. And then it gives you a very tiny little preview, which, I mean, it never shows you the whole image. So you can see here, you can still see the noise, but there you can see how it would look after processing, export, in other words. And if you click on it, it shows you the before, and if you release, it shows the after. So great, but not great. As in, you have to almost, I have to almost lean into the screen. Now let's go to PhotoLab 8 quickly. So let's just go through that. Now that little preview has disappeared. Now you might wonder what's going on, and this is where this new, I think it's called the Loupe. Yeah, the new Loupe tool. It's actually labeled the new Loupe tool. Very sneaky. So the nice thing is, so one thing, we've got the new Loupe tool, which I'll show you shortly, and we have a more advanced denoising technology called DeepPRIME XD2s. So let's activate the Loupe tool quickly. Click on this little loop with a plus in it, and now we have a preview which we can move around. It's already bigger than the preview here in PhotoLab 7, and then let's just, so now we can activate DeepPRIME XD2s. Now it's working, and now it gives you a beautiful preview there as you move it around the screen. An additional nice little feature that compared to the previous version, awesome, is you can click on this little white square, and it enlarges the area to something that's actually very usable. What I like to do is hold spacebar, double click on the image. So now the image is at 100%, and the loop sort of just forms part of the image. Whereas if I quickly zoom out again, the loop zooms into 100, and when the image is not at 100%, it's sort of it's nice, but yeah, I find it more intuitive like this. One thing I'm finding with the denoising technology as it's going along is, for me, it's too strong. You can see there. So look at the shadow here, and if we move it over there, it's almost as if it's softening or losing detail. It's because the denoising is so strong. Now I know you can adjust the details here, but I almost find myself reverting back to DeepPRIME. So let's click on that. You can see there's actually it's not really noise, but it's more detail, and just looks better in my opinion. So yeah, I don't know if it's that great, the even more advanced noise reduction. I quite like noise in the image, actually. I don't mind all this noise here. I wouldn't actually denoise this image or do any noise reduction really. And if we look at the detailed area and the rocks here, it's also getting a bit soft maybe. So I would actually pull that back to about 20. Now I'm going to go back to the shadow area here. It's just, to my eye, it's just more pleasing, and it ironically, adding noise, I often add noise to images that are too noise free, just because it actually gives the image more perceived sharpness when you view it. Anyway, so great improvements here in terms of the new Loupe tool and more advanced noise reduction. So back to the photo library. yeah, I mean, what else do we have? Lastly, we have a new curve tool, which has, again, so this is an image from Namibia, one of my weekly edits, I think it didn't capture one, but this is from Namibia. And again, I think if you go back, look at my weekly edit in capture one, it takes me a while to get the image to here. And in DxO's PhotoLab 7 or 8, I just have to open it up, and that's the before, that's the after. I mean, the colors are of the dune, it's already more or less what I wanted. The sky I can maybe bring down, I think, which we'll maybe do with a curve tool or with a Hue mask in a bit, but the sky I would want a bit more like a dark blue or a darker blue, but most of the editing is actually done. And if we zoom into 100%, there's not really a lot of noise there at all. So with new curve tool, what we have is a Luma curve, as well as the addition of a tone picker. So we can actually click on the image and it will adjust the corresponding luminance on the curve. So let's click on the tone picker. And now so what I'm gonna do is add a bit of contrast. So I'm gonna click on the lighter region, and then now I can drag up. You can see in the tone curve there, it's dropped a point and it's taking that up. And then I want to click on the shadow here and bring that down. So it's essentially a little bit of an S-curve, but a very targeted S-curve. I don't have to guess where that shadow area is on the curve. And if we look at it before, after. Now that bit of contrast has added a bit of depth to the image. What it has done though is it lightened it up a little bit. So what I'm going to do quickly is go to the color panel, and I'm just going to increase the, like that, and let's get the global vibrancy. There we go. There we go. Yeah, and that's the tone curve essentially. So very, very nice. I think that's, what did I say? The sky. Yes, let's just quickly demonstrate some of the more local adjustments while we're here. So for the sky, I would probably do a control line, not the new Hue mask, just because. So the nice thing about the control line versus the control point, the line is linear, obviously. So we just drag it like almost like a graduated filter. And then we can use the little eyedropper to select the color which we want to select within the graduated filter. So it's a very targeted selection. You can change the opacity as well. And we can, if we switch quickly to black and white, you can see it bleeding into the dune a little bit, which is not bad, but we can adjust the chroma. So to the left it increases it, or to the right. This makes it a bit more of a precise mask, and then the Luma as well. Maybe take that to the left and the chroma to the right, like that. Yeah, there we go. Maybe I can actually take that back a little bit and then bring that down like that. Perfect. So let's switch back to color overlay. And now I want to bring, I'm actually not going to bring the exposure down. I'm going to bring the midtones down, just so it's a bit more of a gradual effect. Like that. And I'll bring the highlights down. I might switch that actually a bit more to there. Now let's close that and then have a quick look at before after. You can see just a subtle enhancement of the sky there. And that's pretty much that. So let's not prolong that too much. Those are all the new features in DxO PhotoLab 8. Like I mentioned, I'm going to play around with it a bit more and give you guys an update. So lastly, is it worth upgrading from PhotoLab 7? In my honest opinion, probably not. DxO is an absolutely amazing company. They make a brilliant product. I really love using it, but I think for me, I don't think it's that, what's the word? That strong a case to upgrade. Yeah, the new Hue mask is nice. There are ways of working around that if that is something that you really need to do in PhotoLab 7. But yeah, I think one of the major things that I find interesting is that DxO have not made an oval or a radial filter. They've got a graduated filter, but they don't have a radial filter, which for me would make a much stronger case to actually use PhotoLab versus something like Lightroom or On1, etc. And if you search a bit online, you'll see in support requests or in forums and on DxO forums themselves, as well as other forums. There's so many, from almost going back 10 years, requests to integrate or to make a radial filter for DxO. Anyway, I hope that was useful in some way. I was very much out of my depth, but yeah, I enjoyed giving you guys a quick overview. Let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good one.